French Shalom and greetings to you all. It's only 1 week away now. Father's Day's coming. And if you did not call him or visit last week, do it this week. You do not have to wait for next week. You never have to wait for special days. Do not wait the week, the 2 weeks, whatever it is. You just call Dad. Have a good time now. When the light begins to shine, I hear those ancient lullabies as I watch the ceiling grow. Feel my heart start to overflow. Where do I go to find words to say? How do I teach him what to play? Bit by bit, I've realized that's when I need them. That's when I need my father's eyes. Now, your father's been through a lot. Worlds can be seen in your father's eyes. Call Dad, light a candle for Dad. Elevate his soul. And while we're at it, did you light a candle and remember D-Day? Not everybody did. Not everybody does. Soon there'll be not too many left who actually participated in it. And then it will begin to disappear. It was perhaps the great turning point in a horrific war and time for humanity. I'm not sure how many of you got up the other day to watch the Great Ring of Fire eclipse. I watched it. And well, you're not supposed to look directly at the path of an eclipse. I couldn't help myself. It was incredible, and the energy of it seemed to affect an awful lot of people and things for a day or two. It marked the new moon of Tammuz, an important new moon. It's the new moon of Cancer, a month to come to grips with the emotional self we contain and to examine the things that we hold on to. And of course, Cancer marks another turning point. The Talmud speaks of the Tekafah of Tammuz, which is the change of season coming up in Cancer, the change to summer. And we will be celebrating it, so feel free to join us for that great celebration. And as we do every week, let us now gather and share. As we connect at different levels as a collective consciousness of seekers showing faith, any and all faith, love, any and all love, as a community, a chavura of fellowship, expressing our nature of kindness, compassion, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, and wishes, unites us all in this community house of spirit, Beth Ruach, sharing, bringing light, keeping fear at bay. So once again, please do go ahead. Invite everybody you know, some physically, the rest digitally, psychically, emotionally, spiritually, to gather and share as we join together with Psalm 133, the Hine Matov. Come together. Hine Matov. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good, how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community. 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 Together. Let's all spread love, goodwill, and fellowship to the world. Remember, friends, this is your setting aside a little bit of sacred time in your sacred space to honor and converse with whoever, whatever you happen to believe in. It's a part of your kavanah, your intention that you put out to the universe. It's your goodwill. Let's take some time now and send some of that goodwill, some light and some healing out to whoever you know that needs it. Healing and renewal for everybody. Floats through space, finding those in need. So send it out. For those you know and for the souls and spirits of everybody you love. So think of whoever that needs healing and renewal and love or just plain goodwill. Focus on them. Call their names. It's not just for people. It's for our pets. It's for the earth. It is the healing of the world, the tikkun olam. Part of our spiritual genetic makeup. And remember, the healing of the world is a part of why we are each here. It's capsulized by that famous precept of lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. It's not required that you complete the work, but neither may you refrain from doing it. We have to help heal the world. We may not complete it, but we each must do our own individual part. And part of that healing is when we send thoughts and energy for health and renewal and goodwill for everybody. They don't have to be sick. It's for those in our hearts and our minds. For Herda, who lost her soulmate, Patrick, and Sarah, who lost her best friend, her mother, Brenda. Baruch Dayan Ha'amet. For Claudia, for Kathleen and Ken. For Lucy and her mother. For Adrian and Frank. For Jim, for Dave, for Mary and Matthew. For Roseanne and Salvatore. For Kevin. For Anne, who is having a birthday. For Gloria. For the builder, Terry. For Leslie, for Talia, and for the bee. Friends, it is the kindness, the healing wishes, the goodwill and love we all send out. It just circles the world finding those in need. So thank you, each of you, for all you do, for all you care. Because the world is a world of spirit, and spirit, my friends, never dies. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage, make our lives a blessing, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. Let us say, Amen. Misha Berach. Let us all have our spirits renewed, my friends. This is the great prayer for healing, in which we call upon God to heal as he is healed before. Misha Berach, may he who blessed, because all healing is a blessing. Let's all send and receive healing and renewal energy in our efforts to love, to share, to care, to grow. And this week we read about a revolt. Not the first, not the last. We see a contest to see which staff will bud and grow flowers, used to determine a sign, a very important sign. We hear a lot more about priestly responsibility. After all, they are special. Join me now this week as we read Korah. Now, just as the standard interpretation of last week was about spies, the standard interpretation for this week is summarized as the story of how Korah led an unsuccessful rebellion against Moses and Aaron. And after thwarting the insurrection, God confirms Aaron in the priesthood and provides additional legislation regarding priestly and Levitical privileges and responsibilities. I love history. I have studied history for an historic number of years. Ancient, Middle Eastern, classical, modern, even future. Friends, we get so much from history. We learn about social, political, economic, artistic, scientific changes and developments. But there's always a but. The danger from studying history, other than the fact that it often does repeat itself, is that it's written by the winners. We don't question it. The slant is theirs. The truth is theirs. So what are you really studying? How much of more than one side do you ever get? You know, it has always been and probably always will be. It's happened in what we study, altering our own views, and it happens in our world right now. Some of us will see some of what's written about now, some will not. I guess it depends on who we cancel and erase and when the current history is written and by whom. It's being written now. It'll be written for the future, too. Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about a science book. Don't know much about the French I took. But I do know that I love you. And I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. And that is true, my friends. Love does make a wonderful world. So go make it more wonderful. Now, the story of Korah is seen as the story of a failed rebellion. What an interesting word. It connotes violence, uprising, and its flip side is revolution, which is often viewed as a forcible overthrow, which often connotes betterment. We think of the French and American revolutions, fights for freedom and independence, and end to tyranny. Words of meaning. The choice of words can sometimes win the war. In this reading, there are actually two rebellions we read about. And I'll use the word most used. Now, most people have an inkling of this story. They know it from the seminal film of the events of the Exodus, the Ten Commandments. The Korah Dathan rebellion scene was portrayed by Edward G. Robinson, known for his roles as a criminal and a thug. Here he's the Hebrew overseer, governor of the people, treating them with the full cruelty of the taskmasters, favoring self, material goods, and Pharaoh over his own people. He rebels against Moses, forces Aaron to make the golden calf to lead the people back to slavery, and is then thwarted by Moses and God. Now, what a fantastic scene that was. Moses comes down the mountain, sees the commotion, throws the Ten Commandments at the foot of the calf, opens the earth, and swallows the revelers. But that's not what the story really tells. That is the artistic license of history and great editing. Number 16:1. And Korah, son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab and On, son of Pelah, sons of Reuben, took up and they rose before Moses and 250 men of the Israelites, community chieftains, persons called up to meeting, men of renown. And they assembled against Moses and against Aaron and said to them, "You have too much. For all the community, they are all holy, and in their midst is the Lord. Why should you raise yourselves up over the Lord's assembly?" Now, you see, we have two separate rebellions morphed together in people's minds, certainly helped by the film, but let's separate them as they were reported. Korah is one rebellion. Dathan and Abiram are the second. You say you want a revolution. Well, you know, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution. Well, you know, we all want to change the world. When you talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out in? Now, one challenges Aaron for permanent ownership of the priesthood. The other challenges Moses for control of the political structure and leadership of the tribes. These are not rabble as revolutionary. These two are the tribal leaders representing other leaders who feel the same way. The people have been told they are a nation of priests, all of them. So another Levite leader wants to know why Aaron, Levite, should have permanent single-family control of the priesthood. Aren't all priests deserving of the opportunity? Not very democratic. Number 16:3. You have too much. For all the community, they are all holy, and in their midst is the Lord. And why should you raise yourself up over the Lord? Skill versus birthright. Kind of like royal privilege versus ability. And has in history shown us time and again, royal families and privileged rights change. In the long run, skill and ability prevails. Today's royalty may not be tomorrow's, but skill is never ending. Have we not always been encouraged to be our best? Why do we do that if not to promote success and skill? Yeah, sex too, but success and skill go hand in hand. Korah is a Levite priest who thinks the job of Kohen, the high priest, should not be a right of birth. I fail to see a problem with that. But if I were Aaron or his family, I would. And Korah becomes the archetype of the presumptuous rebel against just authority. Now, there's a presupposition here that he is rebelling against the proper authority. Well, who says so? The winner says so. Why else do we think Esau was a demon and Jacob a saint? The Bible's not the story of the sons of Esau, is it? And yet everything we read points to him as being the embodiment of love and of the forgiveness mechanism. At the same time, Dathan and Abiram are members of the tribe of Reuben, the firstborn son of Jacob, and therefore, according to law, the natural leaders of the clan, who question Moses having usurped that role and making all decisions himself. Number 16:13. And they said, "We will not go up. Is it too little that you brought us up from a land flowing with milk and honey to put us to death in the wilderness? that you should also actually lord it over us? What's more, to a land flowing with milk and honey you have not brought us, nor given us an estate of fields and vineyards. Would you gouge out the eyes of these men? We will not go up. And Moses was very incensed. Friends, what an incredible opportunity you have to write your own Mishnah, your own analysis, your own explanation, a what if opportunity. The sages have turned a fairly small book into a multi-volume explanation and analysis by thinking, by examining. How can we explain? What is the backstory? That is so much of what the Talmud tells us. We saw it with Cain and Abel, with Jacob and Esau. The entire Joseph story is built on it. His brothers, his rise to power. Moses' choice when faced with crown or coal. To explain, why he needed Aaron to talk for him. David's choice as future king. The Bible and biblical lore is built on these filler stories and explanations. What if Aaron's followers simply do not want to give up their power and rights and defeat Korah's challengers? And at the same time, Moses and his followers defeat Dathan and Abiram and their followers. You now have winners who can write the history. Now, we're told it was a contest between the two priestly groups, and it centered on burning incense, the first duty of the priest. And we are told God decided. Well, you know what? You can't get a better, more impartial judge than that, can you? He did not approve of Korah, so he incinerated him and his followers, just like Aaron's sons Nadab and Abihu were incinerated not that long ago. Numbers 16:16, and Moses said to Korah, you and all your community be before the Lord, you and they and Aaron tomorrow. Each man take his fire pan, and you shall place on it incense and bring it forward before the Lord. Each man his fire pan, 250 fire pans. And you and Aaron, each man his fire pan, and each man took his fire pan, and they placed fire in them, put incense on them, and they stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron. And a fire had gone out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men bringing forward the incense. The exact same words as were used with, Nadab and Abihu. God chose the winner. We can see that plainly. We can read it. In the other backstory, God's ready to just step in and end the rebellion. And the Lord's glory appeared to all the community. And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, divide yourselves from this community, and I will put an end to them in an instant. And Moses arose and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel went after him. And he spoke to the community, saying, turn away, pray, from the tents of these evil men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest you be swept away in all their offense. And they moved up from the dwelling of Korah, Dathan and Abiram from all around. And Dathan and Abiram went out, poised at the entrance of their tents, their wives and their sons and the little ones. Now, Moses had called for the incense test. Now he calls for another. Numbers 16:30. But if a new thing the Lord should create, and the ground gapes open its mouth and swallows them and all of theirs, and they go down alive to Sheol, which is hell, you will know that these men have despised the Lord. Not really hell, it's the underworld. And it happened that just as he finished speaking all of these words, that the ground that was under them split apart. The earth opened its mouth, swallowed them and their households and every human being that was Korah's and all the possessions. And they went down, they and all theirs, alive to Sheol, and the earth covered over them, and they perished from the midst of the assembly. And all Israel that was around them fled at the sound of them, for they thought, lest the earth swallow us. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down, tumbling down. I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky tumbling down, tumbling down. Now, once again, God chose. He opened the earth, swallowed the insurrectionists, closed the earth again. Not an earthquake, not a sinkhole. An opening, swallowing, closing, like a mouth eating. If these choices are God's choice, would you ever question these two's rights of permanent control? Of course not. And to reinforce the story, Moses and Aaron are brothers, the same family, but there's a separation of powers. I know, I've got it. Let's bring them together so they can never have questions again as to who has true control. So there's this other contest for God to pick the tribal chief leader's staff, which becomes the symbol of the people. So all the staffs of the 12 tribal leaders are brought to God, who will have the staff he chooses, the staff of the future leader flower. Numbers 17:23. Aaron's staff of the house of Levi had flowered. It had brought forth flower, it had burgeoned and blossomed and borne almonds. And the Lord said to Moses, bring back Aaron's staff before the Ark of the Covenant as a safekeeping, as a sign for rebels. Let there be an end to their murmurings against me, and they shall not die. Aaron's staff will be the staff used in the future, the staff to rule with, the staff to rule all staffs, like the one ring to rule them all. Yes, the world is sacred, my friend.